We have him trapped like a rat. He ends up with no place to go, and he ends up exhausted, fight or flight, turns around the corner, and is shot. So all of this led up immediately to the death. And therefore, it's a question for the jury. And in this case, the standard, as the court knows, is we view all of the evidence presented at trial in the light most favorable to the verdicts and ask whether any rational trier of fact could have found that the defendant was guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. That's for the jury to decide. They're going to go ahead and look at this, and but for those actions on Burford, would he have ever been trapped like a rat between two pickup trucks on Holmes Drive? No, he wouldn't have been. So it materially and substantially contributed to his death by getting us to that point. And this is all one continuous event. This is 5 minutes of this going on. So it's not these separate little vignettes. This is continuous. They're going around. Mr. Bryan's driving him this way. They're going this way to go ahead and capture him and trap him on Holmes. And that was their intention, all because they wanted to talk to him. So we've got that. We ask that you deny the motion for directed verdict on counts 5 and counts 9. Then we've got I believe Mr. Hogue then did 3 and 7, which is our aggravated assault with the pickup trucks. Count 7, did make an assault upon the person of Ahmaud Arbery with a Ford F-150 pickup truck and a Chevy Silverado pickup truck. Objects, devices, and instruments, when used offensively against a person, are likely to result in serious bodily injury. 2.20.21, aggravated assault with a deadly or offensive weapon. Assault another person with an offensive weapon. To prove assault, the state does not have to prove that the other person was actually injured. However, the state must prove that the defendant committed an act that placed the person in reasonable apprehension or fear of immediately receiving a violent injury. And then, of course, an offensive weapon is any object that is likely or actually does cause death or serious bodily injury if used against someone. It's not in dispute that a 5,000-pound lethal weapon like a pickup truck can cause serious bodily injury to someone. The question is, were their acts, what they did, such that they would put a reasonable person in reasonable apprehension? In other words, did what they do cause fear? Yes. Now, we don't have Mr. Arbery to go ahead and take the stand and go, yes, I was afraid. He's dead. But the jury's allowed to go ahead and look at this and go, okay, let's look at their acts. Did they commit an act that placed Mr. Arbery in reasonable apprehension or fear of immediately receiving a violent injury? Yes, both direct and circumstantially, they did, with aggravated assault with these pickup trucks. So once again now, felony murder, we're back to our but-for situation. So but for them attempting to strike him, cut him off, run him into a ditch, impede him, run up next to him. I mean, Mr. Arbery's just running down the road, and they pull up with a pickup truck right next to him and start yelling at him. Stop, stop, we want to talk to you. So at that point, just that alone, is that an action that would put somebody in fear? I mean, total strangers have pulled up next to you. You don't have a car, you're running. That's a question for the jury. Now, the aggravated assault with the pickup trucks, the state feels not a problem, proven that beyond a reasonable doubt. Did it play a substantial and necessary part in causing his death? Yes. Now, as Mr. Hogue pointed out, at the time of his death, the white pickup truck, which had already been used offensively against him, trying to falsely imprison him on Burford, and then once again coming down Holmes Drive, goes ahead and passes Mr. Arbery. We know this, okay? Because what do we have? We've got Mr. Bryan on the video. Mr. Arbery suddenly turns around. Now, whether you can see the white pickup truck or not, he suddenly turns around and runs back down. Mr. Bryan goes up, Mr. Bryan turns around, he comes back up, and the video's there, and what do we have? That truck is parked at the end of the road. Based on their statements, Agent Dial has testified they went up Zellwood and came down Holmes. That means they passed Mr. Arbery, once again with that white pickup truck. He is pinned between the two of them, the black pickup truck and the white pickup truck, and then the white pickup truck passes him when he turns around and then parks in front of him. That is the aggravated assault. But for them using those pickup trucks in that manner, he would not be dead. because he's trying to run up Holmes, and the white pickup truck's coming. He runs back down. Now Mr. Bryan's at the top of Holmes, and the white pickup truck's at the bottom of Holmes. He is pinned. Greg McMichael said he was trapped like a rat, and he knew it. That was what Greg McMichael said. So when he's trapped like a rat between these two pickup trucks, did that substantially, materially, did that play a substantial and necessary part in causing the death? It was absolutely necessary, because they had him between these two pickup trucks. They'd caused him fear. Actions put him in reasonable apprehension of receiving serious bodily injury with the pickup trucks. And at this point in time, as a party to the crime, they've stopped their pickup truck. But Mr. Bryan hasn't stopped his pickup truck. Not at all. He is coming up behind Mr. Arbery. He is revving that engine. You can hear it on the video. And as a party to the crime, they can see that pickup truck coming. Seeing that pickup truck coming didn't stop Travis McMichael from pulling up that shotgun and pointing it at Mr. Arbery. And then he tracks him around and then shoots Mr. Arbery. The fact that Mr. Bryan and the McMichaels, as a party to the crime of the use of that pickup truck at that moment, it becomes felony murder for the aggravated assault with the pickup truck. The state will argue, of course, that the use of the pickup truck the entire time, but for that, he wouldn't have been where he was. But for all the actions that the McMichaels took in their white pickup truck, Mr. Arbery would not have been where he was and would not have been trying to escape this particular attack and assault. So we ask that you deny the directed verdict on counts 3 and count 7. Then we have, of course, count 4 and 8. This was the fourth one that Mr. Hogue mentioned. I'm going to pause for some water, Judge. Count 8 of the indictment. In violation of the personal liberty of Ahmaud Arbery, did unlawfully confine and detain Ahmaud Arbery without legal authority, to wit. Said accused did chase Ahmaud Arbery with a Ford F-150 pickup truck and a Chevy Silverado pickup truck through the public roadways of the Satilla Shores neighborhood, and did confine and detain Ahmaud Arbery on Holmes Drive using said pickup trucks. Greg McMichael's statement: he was trapped like a rat. He was trapped between the two pickup trucks. State has gone ahead and proven count 8. So how did that materially, substantially, and necessarily cause the death of Ahmaud Arbery? Because he's trapped between these two pickup trucks. He's right there in Holmes. He's running toward a man pointing a shotgun at him, and that man is relentless. He doesn't give up. He doesn't stay on the side of his pickup truck. So here we've got the ultimate confinement. And Judge, the ultimate confinement is death. Here he was ultimately falsely imprisoned because he was shot right there. Ultimate false imprisonment. But what they actually did is when they put Mr. Arbery in reasonable apprehension, fear of receiving bodily injury with the pickup trucks, they had him trapped like a rat. Once again, fight or flight. All he did was flee from these people. All he did was try and get away. But according to Greg McMichael, he was trapped. Greg McMichael is standing in the back of that pickup truck yelling at him, "Stop, goddammit, stop." He previously told him he was going to kill him. He was going to blow his effing head off. So at this point in time, if he had not been falsely imprisoned and trapped between these pickup trucks, he would not have been shot. The killing is the ultimate confinement. And I get that the defense is saying, well, he had options and he should have run this way and he could have run that way. Well, they're parked right in front of that driveway. They didn't actually go up to the stop sign at the end. They parked in that driveway. He was going around this side. There's a driveway to a house right there. He comes around the very front of it. They want to make it seem as if he's the one at fault for not continuing to run. He's the one at fault because they made him afraid. He's the one at fault because he didn't want to get, I don't know, it would be speculation, but nobody wants to get shot in the back with a shotgun. He's already been told they're going to kill him if he doesn't stop. So at this point in time, falsely imprisoning him there and keeping and confining him there substantially and necessarily caused his death. Blaming him for not continuing to run on or him utilizing his options to defend himself is not really how do I put this? What Mr. Arbery chose to do and his intent is not relevant. The acts of the defendant are that's what's relevant here. And trapping him like a rat between two pickup trucks, one of which he was actively running away from as it pursued him, forcing him towards the white pickup truck and Travis McMichael and his shotgun, that was actual false imprisonment because he never ever got away from them on Holmes Drive. He was killed. So it substantially contributed to his death. When we look at counts, so we ask you to deny the directed verdict as to 4 and 8. When we look at counts 2 and 6, once again, 2 being felony murder based on the aggravated assault with a shotgun. Count 6 is did make an assault upon the person of Ahmaud Arbery with a firearm, a deadly weapon, to wit, a 12-gauge shotgun. To prove assault, the state does not have to prove that the other person was actually injured. However, the state must prove that the defendant attempted to cause a violent injury to the person. All right, so, Judge, I hear what Mr. Hoag's saying, that pointing the shotgun at him where it's up against here is an aggravated assault, and it is. And if he had never fired at him, if he'd just done that, he'd be guilty of aggravated assault. However, as you know, our Supreme Court has recently told the state, you can't go charging different moments in time in a continuous action. They've told us that. They said you can't do it. It's all one aggravated assault. There has to be an intervening factor, meaning, I think the one case that we're talking about is, it was an aggravated assault on a woman, boyfriend, girlfriend, and he went ahead and slashed her face. So we've got aggravated battery. Then there was an intervening time period where she got away from him. Then he went up and I think he stabbed her in the neck. Those were two separate things solely because of the intervening time factor. But the courts have said, meaning our Supreme Court has held, it's all one thing. But in this particular case, the state's not contending that it's two separate aggravated assaults. It's one aggravated assault when he pulled the trigger and shot him. So I just want everybody to be really, really clear. The state is arguing the state must prove that the defendant attempted to cause a violent injury to the person. And he attempted to cause a violent injury to the person when he shot him point blank in the torso with that shotgun. They are all parties to the crime of this. Because Greg McMichael's already threatened to shoot him with a, stop or blow your effing head off. Mr. Bryan sees that shotgun, sees it come out, sees exactly what's going on. We might not see it on the camera, but he's driving the truck and he's driving Mr. Arbery right towards that man with the shotgun, helping him to go ahead and commit this crime. So at this point in time, we've got the aggravated assault. Here, Travis McMichael actually pulled the trigger. Greg McMichael helped and encouraged Travis McMichael. Travis McMichael grabbed his shotgun in his driveway decision at his house, chose to bring that shotgun along, and Greg McMichael knew it. There's absolutely no evidence that Greg McMichael told him not to bring it along. Don't bring that shotgun. Nothing like that. Greg McMichael got into the truck with his son knowing he had that shotgun. This is circumstantial evidence. Greg McMichael's in the truck with Travis McMichael the entire time that he has this shotgun, both in the pickup truck and then when Greg McMichael gets in the back of the pickup truck, Greg McMichael's yelling at Ahmaud, stop, stop. Greg McMichael's giving Travis McMichael directions, cut him off, cut him off, cut him off. In the moment that Travis McMichael is outside, Greg McMichael can see he's got the shotgun. Stop, goddammit, stop, is what he's saying to Mr. Arbery. That is helping, intentionally aiding and abetting, knowing full well that the shotgun is being pointed at Mr. Arbery. And it's kind of encouraging. It's tacitly basically authorizing this and encouraging him because he's not telling his son to stop doing that. You don't hear, put the shotgun down. You don't hear, what the heck are you doing? Don't do that. You hear, stop, goddammit. Travis McMichael is driving. And the one thing that's kind of important here, Judge, is that Mr. Hoag, when it came to Greg McMichael's statement, actually asked Parker Marcy a question. And it was unobjected to by Greg McMichael's counsel, but I know the court noticed it, I noticed it. It was my intention, and I know it was my son's, to arrest him or at least to get him identified. There was no objection from Travis McMichael. So at this point, what's before the court, unobjected to by Travis McMichael's counsel, is what their intentions were here. And, of course, they're going to argue, well, it was to arrest him or at least get him identified. So if this is Travis McMichael's intention, it was Greg McMichael's intention, and that's what they were doing, and they were doing it at the point of a shotgun. With regard to Mr. Bryan, Mr. Bryan never called 911. Mr. Bryan continues forward recording despite the shotgun coming out. Mr. Bryan says absolutely nothing on the recording. He doesn't go, oh my God, there's a shotgun. Oh my God, what's he doing? He doesn't, like I said, swerve out of the way and into a ditch. He doesn't put it in reverse and back up so he's out of the line of fire. He pulls forward and accelerates despite the shotgun coming out. Doesn't slam on the brakes, does not protest, does not yell, doesn't honk, doesn't do anything but keep driving forward, driving Ahmaud Arbery forward. We get to this location by Mr. Bryan pursuing Mr. Arbery, because as we saw in the video, Mr. Arbery had actually run away from the white truck again. Mr. Arbery runs, we see that. He's going down homes towards Satilla. Mr. Bryan goes up and he turns around. At this point, we actually see Mr. Arbery back at the blue mailbox, having turned around, being forced to run back toward the white pickup truck. Therefore, he helped by chasing Mr. Arbery toward the white F-150 pickup truck, despite Arbery's obvious attempts to get away from the white pickup truck. But he encounters Mr. Bryan in the Silverado, so he has to run back toward the white pickup truck. Once again, a party to the crime in making this happen. And we all know that even if your finger is not on the trigger, you can still be held responsible. I mean, we all know that the getaway driver who doesn't go into the convenience store is just as guilty as the guy who goes into the convenience store and pulls the trigger because he's there to help make it happen. Help make it happen. And here we have Travis McMichael actually pulling the trigger, Greg McMichael helping to make it happen, and William Bryan helping to make this happen. Because without their help and assistance, without Greg McMichael, especially his encouragement, Travis McMichael would not necessarily have been able to complete this had not Mr. Bryan driven Mr. Arbery toward the parked white pickup truck. If Mr. Bryan had actually kept going and up around Zellwood or had left, Mr. Arbery would have been able to keep running up homes and maybe get to Zellwood and Satilla. Thus, Mr. Bryan confining him there contributed substantially and materially to the felony murder and the aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. So we ask that you go ahead and also deny the directed verdict for counts 2 and 6 of the indictment as to Greg McMichael and Travis McMichael. Did I miss anything? Okay. Thank you, Your Honor.
Any final word from the McMichael defendants on their motion?